Hey guys, and welcome to the Saints TV preview for round 10. Just FYI, I'm not feeling very well, so I'm just going to try and keep it as quickly as I can. So if I don't get through questions at all, just post them anyway and I'll get back to you and respond via typing and commenting back when I can. In terms of the team, let's get straight into it. Let's not mess around. Let's talk about the ins. In terms of the ins this week, it's an extended bench, so we're not going to really get the full team until 5 p.m. tomorrow. In right now is Nick Coffield, who had an excellent game and was one of the best on ground for Sandy on the weekend. Hunter Clark, who was very close to best on ground, had 31 disposals. He is the one who I think will come in the end. We've also got Billy Longer. I don't see him really coming into the team with Rowan Marshall already being pretty dominant in the ruck. Unless we lose another tall, but based on the outs, we're not losing at all. And you also got Ben Long and Brandon White. So we've got a mixture of players that have been given a chance and not taken it previously, like a Billy Longer. And then we've got players that we're just kind of waiting to see. We haven't seen Nick Coffield yet this season at all. Hunter Clark's been in and out for about 4 weeks, and he's been doing well in Sandy, but struggling at AFL level when he's come into the team and not really gotten on like we've wanted him to this season. Billy Longer, dominating hit-outs at Sandy level, but when he comes into the AFL hasn't really stood up. I don't see a need for him this week. I think that Marshall versus Cruiser is critical, and I'm happy for him to go head-to-head there. I thought Marshall did well on Grundy last week against Collingwood, so no doubt I think he can match it and do better against someone like Cruiser this week, who's fairly mobile and similar to Marshall in that way. Then you got Ben Long, on and off again, come into the team. I'm not sure if there's a spot for him if we keep the likes of Kent, Robbie Young, Matty Parker in the team who aren't in the outs at all. So I feel like we'd be too small if we did that. And then you've got Brandon White. And he's the interesting one because Webster is clearly not in this week. He's out again. He hurt his hand a couple of weeks ago, missed the game last week. And Brandon White is a guy that can play a very similar position. He's him, McKenzie, Webster, they're all that sort of ilk left foot, halfback flankers, put their body on the line. Very similar sort of players. So it'd be interesting to see if we either go with a midfielder to replace Patton, who's been managed. He was sore after the Collingwood game, so I can see why maybe he's being managed and not so much dropped, because I thought he played all right. And whether we go with Hunter Clark, who's a midfielder who hasn't taken his chance yet, or we go with the guy who's been consistent all season in Brandon White, who plays the Webster role. So it's going to be very interesting to see. Max King, side note, wouldn't be too far away, I don't think, to being considered. He's played 2 games for Sandy now, and he's kicked 5 goals, kicked a game-high 4 goals last week. So I think their game, the Sandy game, is actually before the Saints game at Marvel. So make sure if you get there early, watch Sandy to get to watch Max King up close and see how he goes. Hopefully they have a big win. I think they're playing the Blues or something as well, so that game will start probably 1 o'clock or something around there, so make sure you get there and watch that and support the boys. To this game, basically it's as simple as it could be for me for a review. I thought we played great for 3 quarters last week. I thought we were pretty good for most games in the last month that we've lost, but this one's kind of a non-negotiable. It's not even worth considering. We need to come out, we need to win, we need to get to 5-5, then we go to play Port Adelaide overseas, and that's a neutral ground. We usually play Port Adelaide in Adelaide. We hardly play them in Melbourne, but I think them travelling as well as us playing on a dead neutral ground, somewhere where both teams are fairly uncommon of playing at, that could neutralise their favouritism, I guess, because we play them in Adelaide. They're always better there. We always seem to suck there, but now it's on a neutral ground. So if we can get to 5-5, this is a big opportunity for us to then move to 6-5, go to the bye, come back, and then we play, I can't remember who, but we got some winnable games coming up. We've gone through probably the hardest stretch of games of 4 weeks, that most teams could play. We've gone through with Adelaide, we've gone GWS, we've gone West Coast, Collingwood. So there's 4 there. They're tough. They're as tough as they can be. Collingwood in form, West Coast getting there, Adelaide, doing very well up until last week when they lost. And, GWS, we saw what they did to Carlton last week. And that's what we need to take into account, is that Carlton, you're going to come up and about. They beat the Bulldogs at Marvel a couple of weeks ago and they were excellent. They've had some decent results, a couple of close losses like the Collingwood game. They challenged up until the last 10 minutes. The Hawthorn game, they led all day long in Launceston and lost. They're going to be confident, I reckon, when they see us. They'll be like, yeah, we've got a chance here. If we play properly and if they respond, they've got Cade Simpson, who's one of the ins. For Solo's one of the ins this week. Obviously, they lose their captain in Mark Murphy, but I think that... Oh, sorry, Mark Murphy's not even captain, is he? It's Paddy Cripps. They lose Mark Murphy. That's a big thing for us, so I think that kind of helps us in the midfield. And Paddy Cripps only finished with 12 disposals last week, so he's going to be coming out all guns blazing, like the whole team. They've got a dangerous team. You know, I'm a bit worried about their forward line in Mackay and Curnow and McGovern. There's 3 talls there that I'm a bit worried about, considering how we manage to go against talls, but this is a game that it doesn't matter if it's ugly or whatever. I just want to hear the song at the end, get the 4 points and move the fuck on and get it done. Because I think we can take a lot of confidence from last week. I think that there are certain individuals that need to stand up, and we know who they are. I called them out in my review video last week. In Gresh, I want him to play more forward this week. I want him to be a bit more dangerous, closer to goal. I think in the midfield, we don't need him this week. With Carlton being fairly light on, lacking Mark Murphy there, we can afford to have Gresham go forward, and maybe that's why it's better to bring in another Hunter Clark. You know, we're going to lose Patton, so sort of a halfback winger. I wouldn't mind having Hunter Clark come in, play him in the guts against Carlton. Great opportunity for him to have a good performance and get a lot of possession, get a lot of confidence in himself, and then see how Gresh goes. Because I think Gresh's history against Carlton is pretty good. So let's quickly go through the AFL predictions, and I might wrap it there, guys. I'm struggling to talk. My throat's a bit sore. Last time they met, we won by 54 points. That's when Marshall dominated, Membry dominated. It says what it means for St Kilda coming off 4 straight losses after a difficult month. The 4 and 5 Saints can put themselves in a position to contend for finals, with Port Adelaide and Gold Coast to come after the Carlton clash. The matchup I think is very important, and it was the case last time, was Jack Steele versus Paddy Cripps. The Saints skipper went head-to-head with the Blues superstar last time, and while he couldn't limit Cripps, both were prolific. Cripps ranked number 8, and Steele was number 53 in the league this season so far. It's a big week for Brendan Bolton under serious pressure, so they're going to come out guns blazing. We cannot take them lightly. Their prediction is St Kilda by 11 points, not a big margin. The big call is Carlton to lead by 90% of the contest, only for the Saints to finish hard late and pinch the win. So, I'm a bit... It's one of those games that you're pretty nervous going into. You know, we're expected to win, and every week, every game we've kind of been expected to win, bar Gold Coast round 1. We've struggled. You know, I think we were favourites against West Coast, struggled. We were close to favourites against Adelaide, struggled. There's been a few games. We're generally like being the underdogs, and this is one of those weeks where we're not the underdog. We're the red hot favourites because of Carlton being poor, not so much us being in red hot form. But that being said, yeah, I am worried. If we lose this and we go to 4 and 6, that's tough to come back from in finals. If we can settle and be 5 and 5 after 10 weeks, I'm super happy with that, and I think we can build from that. So it's a tough game, guys, but we got to get there in numbers. I think it's Sunday at 3:20. Let's get a crowd. Let's get the buzz going. I thought we were great last week. If we can follow that form for the first 80% of last week's game against a team like Carlton, the result should be done at halftime. If we can kick straight, please kick straight, guys. Membry, Bruce, Gresh, Parker, everyone that can kick a goal, just kick it through the big sticks. I want more goals than points this weekend for once. That's a big part of why we've lost so many games this season, is that we just don't capitalise when we're on top. So against a team like Carlton, who can easily switch it on, if they get a bit of a roll, and those are the sort of teams that they just go by confidence. If they get their confidence up and about, we're in trouble. If we can get them early and get a good lead and hold them at bay, they will break down, and I think, we'll get the job done. I'll leave it there, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll answer your comments after this, just because I don't feel like talking. I'm not feeling very well. But thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll chat to you after the game on Sunday. Go Saints.